Good afternoon, or what about you? Here we are at Porto del Carmen on the coastline of Lanzarote, and it's blowing well, it's not blowing a gale, but this is normal wind. This book that I'm going to show you is not what you might expect a Christian to be reading, but I like to know about people outside my box. I like to know about people, where they have come from and what they are thinking and how they got there, and I'm interested to hear their story. So I like life stories, I like biographies. And here's one that I have been reading and I would recommend to anybody who's interested in rock music. And there are all sorts of forms of rock music, and some of that rock music is very good and it's a personal opinion and all the rest of it. This is a band that I have never listened to. You'll not believe that, but this is true. But I had heard of this guy, and it's Brian Johnson and his life story. And Brian Johnson was lead singer of a band called AC/DC. I knew of Brian Johnson before that, of course, because way back when he used to be the lead singer of a band called Geordie. Which I did listen to their songs, but I'd never listened to any AC/DC songs. And this book is called The Lives of Brian. Now, that's a take on of the film The Life of Brian by those Headcases. You know the ones I mean. So that was quite clever for a title. And Peter Kay, I presume that's the comedian, says, written from the heart, a fascinating and inspiring story of one man's grit and determination to follow his dream, whatever it takes. I'm interested in rock music and rock music history and all the rest of it, because it did play a part in my growing up. And it played a part in the growing up of so many other people. So you can't run away from it. So what does it say here on the back? Everything you want and everything you didn't know you wanted from a rock star memoir. That's Mail on the Sunday. For over a decade, rock legend Brian Johnson tried to make his mark with a succession of bands, yet big-time success remained out of reach. But was he going to give up on his dream? Not a chance. So after the tragic death of Bon Scott, AC/DC hired Brian as their new singer. He gave it his all, and his debut, Back to Black, went on to become the biggest selling rock album of all time. Big-hearted, touching, indomitable, and always laugh out loud funny, The Lives of Brian is the story of one of the world's best-loved performers, told in his own inimitable voice. And Mojo says, a tale of fate, serendipity and dogged determination, warm, starkly comic and uplifting as hot press, a heart-wrenching and hilarious memoir billboard. And like the greatest AC/DC songs, Johnson takes his own tragic circumstances and turns them into a song of grit and victory. And that's from Spin. The book is, and I'm sitting here and ready to go to the swimming pool. The book is about 350 pages long or so, and it's full of memoirs, it's full of photographs of this guy, and I would like to meet this guy sometime. but it's not going to happen. Like, but he's a guy I found quite interesting. There's his early life, and that's his father and his Italian mother. It talks quite a bit about his father, and you know, he was a desert rat in the Second World War. And Brian Johnson has a lot to say about that, and it's actually quite fascinating. I found it very interesting. And then he talks about his time with Geordie, and meeting up with different people like Roger Daltrey to give him encouragement and all the rest. Lots of photographs there. And then, you know, whenever it was all over and he was back to fitting vinyl roofs on cars, he was phoned out of the blue, so to speak. He was singing with local bands and whatnot. He was phoned out of the blue by AC/DC personnel and offered the chance to become their lead singer after Bon Scott died. This is, you would not believe this, but this man is not a fool. Some people think that rock stars are fools and egotists and all the rest of it. Yes, there's bad language in it. I mean, what would you expect from a band called AC/DC? And yes, there are a few naughty stories, but by and large, it's a very, very interesting and I found fascinating read, delving into the mind and the life of this guy, Brian Johnson. And it's actually very funny in places. I mean, I had laugh out loud moments reading this, and because I'm interested in rock history and all the rest of it, I knew quite a lot of the people that he was talking about. Having said that, I still haven't listened to any ACD songs. I know very little about their music. I know that it's pretty rocky and pretty heavy. Not the type of music that I would really find myself listening to. I did find it interesting that your man Axl Rose, whenever Brian Johnson lost his hearing, Axl Rose took on the rest of the tour, and he was the lead singer in Guns N' Roses, and we'd have a CD of theirs and have done a video about that CD. What can I say? Interesting guy. And as a Christian, I'd just be saying this boy needs to hear a word from God. Now maybe he has, I don't know. I'm not here to judge him. I'm just here to talk about this book and how I found it, and I'd have a chat with this boy, no problem. He's I think he's about 77 or so. I'd encourage anybody like Brian Johnson to, he's had a fascinating life, and he's enjoyed most of it. But he's seen friends and relatives and particularly rock band friends die, and I wonder, does he ever think? He's bound to think, because he's a serious enough guy. Does he ever think, is there anything beyond this life? And I would like to be the one to tell him that there is. He talks about his father and how his father became a staunch atheist because of his wartime experiences and what he saw. and the grim reality of war, of dead friends, soldiers, you know, just, and that made him think the way that he did. And I can understand that, why someone might take on atheistic views. But there has to be more than this life. You look out on the beauty. You see around you the beauty and wonder of nature, and I'm standing looking at it. And you expect me to believe that this just all happened by accident.